I've seen too many times where the boxer signs a contract the day before weigh-ins.
Oh yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes.
Yep. Yep.
Oh
Yep.
God. Oh,
He's dehydrated, delirious, and tired.
and that's when they want to talk about contracts. Like
Yeah.
I've done it so many times, all in the beginning of my career. Until she stepped in, it was the day before or the day of the weigh-ins. Yeah, the day before the day of the weigh-ins. That's when I signed the contract for the fight. And the crazy thing is, it can change at times. Like say,
Yeah.
oh, they're paying me 150, and then all of a sudden, no, they're only paying me 75. What's going on? But you can't say anything anymore because you train hard. What are you gonna do? I'm not fighting,
Uh-huh.
right? I mean, you trained for 3 months and you paid all your sparring partners. You did your dues, man. And then
Yep.
all of a sudden they take half, or close to half, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And you're like dehydrated, you're tired, and you're like,
What are you gonna do?
I'm
Say I'm
like,
gonna pull out?
yeah, and you made weight already, you
And,
know.
and then if you pull out, you duck in and you're the coward and you're all of this. That's the fan.
Exactly.
Not
Oh, and I
knowing.
love this one. They'll go, so the defense of the fighter, just I'm telling you fighters, if you think your defense is going to be, I was cutting weight, I was tired, I was exhausted, the defense for the other side, the promoter, is in that contract states, I am of sound mind to
Mhm.
sign this contract, which means I am completely 100% cognizant of what I am signing. So if you're going to use that as an excuse, it's already built into their contract that you are
So you can't,
acknowledging
yeah, and that's something that
that
again,
you're okay.
all the fighters come in here in terms of watching out for yourself.
Yeah.
Always preparing yourself beforehand. Where your cognitive, your comprehension is good at the top. And not ever, because like for us, it's like you don't show the contract. Within 2 months, I'm not fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we got you the contract. That's why you gotta demand that. If you don't demand that, guess what? You're gonna sign it the day of, and maybe they'll take this, they'll take that, and all of that stuff that you don't even know, but you got no rights for it because of the fact of all the things, the verbiage that they put in there.
And again, we're talking about promotional contracts. So make sure that you know that your promotional agreement will so this is almost like a building block, right? Punch, like it's your management, and then now we're at the promotional level, which will reflect into your fight contracts.
Yeah.
So these things are all together. So whatever you negotiate in your fight contract, in your promotional contract, is what will be delivered and stated into your fight contract. So when he's saying like fight for what you want, fight for this, fight for that, if you want the sanctioning belts to be paid for, you
Mhm.
have to argue that point, right? You have to be like, hey, like, come on, like, you want, especially a champion that is going into a new promotional company, they should be like, yeah, I brought these belts here. You want me to represent the belts, or you want to say you have a champion? Because these are mine. I could
Yeah.
drop them, and I guarantee you the promotional company is going to say no. And you're going to say, well, pay for my sanctioning fees. They're going to say it's too expensive. It's like, well, can we split it 50-50 at least?
Yeah.
Because me having this belt makes you more money.
Facts.
It helps your marketing. So help me help you, bro. You want me to bring this
Yeah.
belt to you? I'm bringing it to you. This is my gold. Show me what it's worth to you.
Right.
Because if this is not worth it to you, then I'll just relinquish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, that belt, those belts, being a champion is what gets these promotional company their network contracts with the
Yep.
networks and
Yep. Yep.
championship. So you're
Yeah.
fighting also for them to get for the greater good of everybody else. And if you that cash cow of the promotional company,
Exactly. Exactly. And that's something that fighters have to really stand on for themselves, not to be swayed, and I guarantee you the manager is gonna be telling the fighters, oh, you should just follow them because maybe in the back end they're getting paid because they're the one that's negotiating,
yeah,
so they're gonna do that, a lot of that stuff. I mean, from manager to promoters, man, I look out for yourself.
Because you get excited, and
I
I
do.
want to
I'm
make
not. I'm not
sure.
saying any names. I'm
Oh,
not saying any names.
okay.
Okay, let's just say that this person that I know, I'm asking for a friend, but this person that I know had fought in a tremendous fight, won the fight against a champion, and got the belt, and got paid really good. And then his next fight was way less than what he got for that fight.
Wow.
Now that he became the champion, way less, not even half, less than half.
And then you don't have no say. So that
person didn't have to say so.
So I give a scenario. So just in case for the chat to understand a little bit, let me just. So let's say, for example, Gervonta Tank Davis fought on a Sunday pay-per-view versus Isaac Cruz on a Sunday where most of the people is like, yo, come on, this is football. It's not going to sell real good. The fighter has no say so to say, why y'all putting me on this day? I'm not going to get the type of money when we know we're going up against the NFL on a Sunday and pay-per-view. What are y'all doing? The fighter has no say so.
No say at all. No say whatsoever when it comes down to something like that, because it's never done before unless you have your own promotion. Fighters don't think that way, So, but ultimately, there hasn't really been any occasion where the fighters have to say something about a fight. Whatever the promoter has given,
that's all they say. That's all they care about. That's all they care about. You know what's a red flag about the payments, though, when we're talking about the payments of managers? If there's an interest of receiving money after the fight. So I've seen in one where manager Mike will be paid within 72 hours of receiving monies from fight. If this is not accomplished, there will be a 2% interest as allowable by law for monies not paid daily. That translates to, if I don't get paid in 72 hours, then I'm getting interest every day. Whatever's allowable by law, right? And we'll go back to allowable by law per state. But you guys also have to understand, you're like, I'm good. I can pay him in 3 days. I'm good. What's the problem? Well, the problem is they're giving you a check. A check has to be cleared. So you can't go cash your check on Sunday. You have to do it on Monday, right? So you go Monday. When you bring it to the bank, they're like, okay, well, we need to verify this check. It's going to take about 10 days. You're not thinking that you're not just bringing cash into the bank. It's not a wire transfer where it's automatically cleared. The funds need to be free and cleared for you to be able to pay your manager. And if they have this type of verbiage, there's nothing to protect you from bank errors.
Wow. Domingo Bonilla, what pay scale deduction does sanctioning fee go by for having the belts? I've heard ridiculous amount of money and buy your home. Hey, the champ got a lot of belts, man. The champ has had a lot of belts in his career.
It's dependent on the sanctioning body. Each sanctioning body has different percentages that they take from the fighters. Yeah. So it's not
and belt fee, right?
Yeah, but it's not the same. Like some do 2%, some do 3%. Okay. I swear there was one that was 5%, and you dropped it.
Oh hell no!
Wasn't
hell no!
Yes, let's not mention the name, but
we're not gonna say what
there was one, and let's just leave it at that.
He was not.
I dropped it like it's hot.
It was hot.
So don't mention the name. So cool. Don't mention the name, but just so the people can know that, like a couple of days ago or a week ago, I was talking about that there are fighters that skillfully are prepared to be a champion, but can't afford to be a champion. They can't afford to pay sanctioning fees for that belt, so they can't afford to be a champion and hold that belt. They could be prepared skillfully, but not, like I get why everybody don't want to be undisputed. They say they want to be undisputed, but you got to pay all those sanctioning fees and belt fee on your next fight. Like, who wants to pay all of that? Right. Imagine if all those belts was 5%. Yeah. And you were undisputed champ.
And that's why I wasn't undisputed in the past, because I was like, oop, that's too much. Oop, that's too much.
Oh my God. They're going to do like the math of your history and see where that happened.
No, but I remember when Timothy Bradley once said, when they was asking, why you don't fight Earl Spence, Keith Thurman and things of that nature. And he's like, man, I don't want to be undisputed. I just want one belt. That's all I need.
Because you only have to pay one sanctioning fee.
This is my ring. This is my territory.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, like, he's. I mean, and it's over the smallest stuff, right? And I've learned to. This is your territory. You're the king. I'm gonna, like, for example, I asked him, we had an appointment after his sparring. And I go, you got your ID, right? Because you need your ID for this appointment. And he's like, I told you I don't have my ID.
I don't bring my ID. What are you talking about? I'm going to the gym. You never told me all this stuff, you know?
And it was quiet. First of all, we already have a private gym. So whoever's in there is allowed to be in there. But then these are our friends and family and training partners. So they're all like, oh.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at someone and I'm like, okay. So then, you know, I allow that, right? He's cutting weight. He has more on his mind and he doesn't want to look dumb in his kingdom. Okay. So we'll go.
Yeah, you know better. You better recognize.
That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, you know better. I'm sorry.
You know where to pass over here. You know who make the dollars around here. Tell him, Nonito.
Yeah, exactly. You better.
Alpha, baby.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Who the man? Who the king? I'm sorry. It's like, oh, who's the alpha?
Alpha, let's go.
Who's the man? Show enough.
Who's the man? Show enough. Yeah.
We showing our age, Punch. We showing our age by saying that. Just saying.
Who the greatest fighter in the world? Show enough.
Damn right. Speak on it.
Oh man, that's right.
It's a man's world. You gonna start singing it.
I got the glow.
Yeah.
I got the glow.
But yeah, so I'll wait until, you know, we call the kids are in bed, we're having wine or whatever. Usually I'm having wine, and it's like, so what'd you do today? Because, you know, I have other businesses I have to take care about and blah blah blah. It's like,
yeah.
And then that's when I'll bring it up. I'll be like, you know, I'm just gonna order another ID, you know, like that. Like, I'm giving the solution already. I'm gonna just order another ID, so at least I have it with me.
And I'm like, you know, I got a great idea. Why don't we just order another ID?
Yeah. How you supposed to be? People know who I am. I don't need no damn ID. They know who the Flash is.
Face value.
Wait, didn't you get my car one night from one of the casinos, and you didn't have your ID on you, and you had to, like, didn't you have to Wikipedia?
Yeah, I had a Wikipedia. Oh no, that's that one. The
Thank you, Domingo Bonilla. The gems being shared on this live is A1. Thank you.
Like the sauce?
A1.
A1 sauce?
Like the sauce. The steak sauce, baby.
Oh, got it. Sorry, I'm just making sure I understand that one.
Thanks. But yeah, what you was gonna share with us?
Okay, so the next one. Dude, I literally think for the promotional we need another live. So the next one is scope of the agreement. Okay. What that means is what the party is responsible for and what you're allowing him to do. So I'm saying Mike, the manager, given rights to negotiate all contracts. Let's highlight all contracts related to the fighter, including but not limited to bout agreements, promotional agreements, TV agreements, and endorsement agreements. In addition, given the right to all professional activities, including but not limited to boxing matches, personal appearances, and any use of fighter's name and or likeness for commercial purposes. Let me say that one again. Any use of the fighter's name.
They own the name. Shit.
So this is important because you're thinking, well, as long as I'm not boxing. No. If you endorse a daycare because now you have kids and they're like, hey, if you just do a commercial for us real quick, like, we'll free daycare for life. They're like, yeah, cool. All right. What do I have to do? Joe Smith has his kids here. I bring them here, blah, 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 blah. 5-time world champion, XXXXX.
Mm-hmm.
You just used your name. And this manager is supposed to negotiate your contract for that. because he has a cut out of your name and likeness.
And most of the contracts of manager contracts have this verbiage in it.
Yeah, it does. It does. So if you get a cut, if you get a even low budget like sponsor, they get the 10% cut.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's actually very generous for them. But managers usually come up with, especially if you're coming in, they'll go with 33%, the maximum.
And this is what usually happens. I'll tell you what usually happens. What usually happens is, let's remember this, because you're gonna think this is bad. Wait till we get to the promotional. Shall have the option to extend the initial term of this agreement for an additional 2 years, or the maximum term permitted by law. In the event that any time during this term, boxers ranked in the top 10 of the WBA, WBC, IBF, IBA, or WBO at the time of the expiration of the initial term, and the 2-year extension of the initial term, if applicable, are referred to X. Okay? How many years do we have there? Who wants to put it out there? Where are my mathematicians right now? So you got
You got 5
years.
The 5 years
initial term.
Yeah.
In addition to 2 years.
4 world title bouts. That's unheard of.
Okay.
Usually, I've seen it in contracts that once you hit they'll agree to 3 fights a year.
Yeah.
But once you hit the world title stage, they'll agree to 2. Right?
Okay. So that's why this is why we see when fighters, win the championship belt, a world title, then they just fight 2 times a year, and the fans be like, "Why you only fighting 2 times a year? You ain't fighting like you used to."
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, if I could try to make money, as much as I can, we want to, but obviously there's something beyond that, and why we can't,
Okay.
Yeah. And the fans think like you just don't want to fight. It's not about that. So
see, fans, relax, okay? He's on the damn contract, right? These guys want to fight more.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
get
but
more
they
money.
can't. But they can't. Literally, there's clauses in the contract that say if you're a mandatory or you won the world title, it's 2 times a year. So let's just pretend. So we're 1 year plus 1 year. So we're at 2 years because I became mandatory. Now I won. So 5. Now I have an additional 5 bouts. So if we were to assume would be 5 bouts and 2 times a year,
so that would be 3 years. So that's 5 years altogether. Because if you're looking at 2 fights a year and you got 5, that's 1 year, 2 year, and then the 5th one, it will be in the 3rd year. So that
we're
makes
at
it
5 years now. Okay.
From the initial 1 year.
Yes. Are you guys with me?
I'm with you.
This is a lot.
It's heartbreaking, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
Professor Rachel.
No, you're the law. I'm the professor. I got the I got the mathematics in my head.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an excuse for lawsuits. If you say, "Well, I didn't know," it's like, well, actually, on this side, so there's a competition. Yeah, well, I didn't know what that meant. Well, but at the end, right before your signature, it said that you were given the availability to go and seek further counsel, and you were counseled on this contract for you to willingly sign this contract. Whether or not you received legal counsel, you said you did based on this contract.
Yeah.
So at that point, what do? It's like, well, yes. So, I didn't. Well, why did you say you did on the contract? Are you saying that you're a liar? If you're a liar, what else are you lying about? Now you just established your character in front of the court of law.
Yeah.
And it goes on and on and on. I kind of want to segue real quick though to this real quick because I know the beta male thing came up with you.
Alpha.
That's right.
Well, and I think this does segue into with Rolly's thing, right?
Okay.
I thought I saw you do content on Rolly's thing, right?
Yeah, Rolly Romero.
Yeah. So people don't see that there's a right to terminate, and this agreement itself tells you that if they engage in any activity or conduct which is illegal, which violates any applicable law or governmental, regulatory, or sanctioning body, rule, or regulation, or which subjects a fighter or said promoter to public ridicule, scorn, contempt, and embarrassment. Anything you do that's caught on TMZ, if they just feel like they do not agree
They can
with
terminate.
what you did, it can be terminated.
Yes, it can be
Mhm.
terminated.
And they have the right to do so.
Yes. And that's what I was telling you earlier when you said something about what if this and that, they don't want them anymore, they can just let them go. They
Yeah.
can find anything that you did on all your social media that supposedly did not represent the
brand,
promotion or the brand. Therefore, we terminate you, stuff like that. So they'll find any ways. Yeah.
So the next one is scope of the agreement. Okay. What that means is what the party is responsible for and what you're allowing him to do. So I'm saying Mike, the manager, given rights to negotiate all contracts. Let's highlight all contracts related to the fighter, including but not limited to bout agreements, promotional agreements, TV agreements, and endorsement agreements. In addition, given the fact, given the right to all professional activities, including but not limited to boxing matches, personal appearances, and any use of fighter's name and or likeness for commercial purposes. Let me say that one again. Any use of the fighter's name.
They own
Now-
the name. Shit.
So this is important because you're thinking, well, as long as I'm not boxing. No, if you endorse a daycare because now you have kids and they're like, hey, if you just do a commercial for us real quick, like, we'll free daycare for life. They're like, yeah, cool. All right. What do I have to do? Joe Smith has his kids here. I bring them here, blah, 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 blah. 5-time world champion, XXXXX.
Mm-hmm.
You just used your name. And this manager is supposed to negotiate your contract for that because he has a cut out of your name and likeness.
And most of the contracts of manager contracts have this verbiage in it.
Yeah, it does. It does. So if you get a cut, if you get a even low budget like sponsor, they get the 10% cut.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's actually very, very generous for them. But managers usually come up with, especially if you're coming in, they'll go with 33%, the maximum.
Well, and this is what usually happens. I'll tell you